guys, welcome back to my channel. For those of you who do not know, I am Allie, and today's video is going to be me talking to you guys about The Vow episode 2 and The Vow episode 3. I decided to combine them since I'm finally feeling like a little bit better in regards to my voice to do this. So episode 2 focuses on Nancy and obviously everyone flipping on Keith Raniere. And it talks about Nippy and Sarah's best friend. So I'm going to kind of start there because the two takeaways that I really got from that episode was Eduardo and then Nancy at the end. Everything else I feel is kind of repetitive. But yeah. So Eduardo was given this information by Nippy before they left that Sarah was branded, that this was going on, and Eduardo, for whatever reason, was angry at first, but then took what it was at face value. To that I say, to Eduardo I say that it's a little funny that you are choosing not to believe two of your best friends as to what happened to someone's body. Like, it happened to a female's body. Like, I really struggle with two people one in episode 2 and then one in episode 3. I just don't like Eduardo's response to anything. It really just irritates me that he is just so nonchalant about the issue. I really wonder sometimes, I know this was filmed, I don't know if this was filmed early or not, but sometimes I really wonder if these people that were interviewed would say the same things they're saying now, if put in front of camera now that Keith's in jail. I feel like with some of them the answer is yes, and then with some of them I feel like the answer is no. And I struggle because I know they're all victims, but I kind of got to set with Nippy on this because Nippy and Sarah were having a conversation on camera, like via FaceTime, when Nippy was there for the trial, that like Eduardo and them were sitting in the room, were hearing what Keith was doing, and Sarah was ready to call Eduardo and have a conversation. And I get it, I was there with her, but then when Nippy said what he said in this clip about how if you don't get it, if you don't understand and you're still sitting there and you're faced with the truth and you don't believe what's coming out of people's mouths, then if you don't believe it by now, you're not gonna believe it. And that's when it hit me and made me realize, like, especially with Eduardo and even Nikki Klein, mind you, she didn't really talk in this one. She's in the next episode 3, but I really realized that, like, Eduardo and Nikki especially, they are diehards for Keith. And they are not gonna listen. And if they don't see it for what it is now, there's no reaching them. So the second takeaway from episode 2 that really pissed me off was Nancy had the nerve to say that she is more mad at Sarah and Nippy than she is at Keith. Are you kidding me, lady? She was branded. Like, what do you mean? And, like, women were, like, sexually, like, for lack of sexually assaulted by this man, but you blame Sarah and Nippy? Like, I don't understand. I don't understand. Because, you know, when I was watching season 2, episode 2, I started to feel for Nancy. I really did. Because I do see some of the good that came out of this. Especially in episode 3 where they talk about Tourette's. I see some good. But then, like, I also see the bad. And I'm just like, how do you not see Keith for what he is? Like, how? Like, how could you humanly possibly be mad at a woman for coming forward with information that she was being branded on Keith's orders and have the nerve to be mad at Nippy and then for defending his wife and the nerve to be mad at Sarah for a situation that your daughter put her in? We're going to get to Lauren in a minute. So I went through that whole episode. There wasn't really much I felt like in season 2, episode 2 that was really different. I don't feel like I don't feel like there was much information. Season 2, episode 3, whew, I'm gonna be honest with you. It's a doozy. It's hard. It's hard to sit through. It's hard to watch. It's hard to comprehend. They talk about Tourette's and Mark and this young woman that I forget her name right now. I don't get how Mark irritates me for a different reason, because he's like, I'm curing Tourette's. I'm helping people with Tourette's, and he doesn't care about the rest. No. You don't get to keep just one good piece of this. Like, I'm sorry. You just don't. Women were sexually assaulted. Women were branded. You don't get to pretend it didn't happen. And see, I think my frustration with all these people that are still loyal to Keith, if you would acknowledge that something bad happened to these women, that they were manipulated and put in this position by a male, you might have an ounce of my sympathy, but you don't. The part that I really took away from in season 3 that I want to talk about, because I am not a special education teacher, I'm not a psychologist, I'm not going to dive into what works for Tourette's and what doesn't. I'm not going to do that. I want to talk about Lauren, because I have struggled with Lauren since season 1. I have listened to the podcast episode where Sarah shares the letter from Lauren. I have been torn on Lauren since the day I learned about her. I don't understand how Lauren got where she is. I don't. And I partly blame Nancy, because it seems like, because her other daughter was interviewed a little bit in season 2, episode 3. Let me just shut this door. That she was, they would have followed her anywhere. So I partly blame Nancy for Lauren being where she was. I get really, really torn on Lauren. And the letter that Lauren wrote Sarah, that she read on her podcast, I'm really torn on Lauren. I'm just going to be frank here. Lauren, I think Lauren's biggest crime, besides manipulating Sarah and Nippy and other women, is that she fell in love with Keith. And she was being dangled a carrot that I feel she really, really wanted. And I got that from season 1, where they talk about how Lauren really wanted a baby. I feel like Keith dangled it as a carrot, and she kept trying to prove she kept trying to prove herself and prove her love for him. And I don't know if she necessarily thought she was the only one, because it's pretty clear that with Keith, there's never just one girl in his life that he's quote-unquote in love with. I don't know if Lauren believed a baby was the answer. I don't know. I understand wanting a child so much that you're willing to look past people and things and their interactions and the way they are. Like, I get it. But I also don't think Lauren gets a free pass on her behavior. This is also where Nancy pisses me off. She wanted to get the rest of the charges and the sex charges separate. I think she needs to acknowledge her daughter's role in what transpired. And I don't know if she'll get there with the rest of the episodes. I don't know if Lauren will get a chance to speak. I really don't know. I feel Nancy is wanting to just pretend the sex stuff never happened, and you don't get to do that. Your daughter manipulated her best friend into joining something that was harmful for her, and for your daughter for that matter. And just don't get to pretend that didn't happen. I get that Lauren flipped and to get less jail time and to testify against Keith. I hope in testifying and going through the court that she is feeling some remorse, some ounce of caring to what she did to other females. You know, I hope that she learns from this, becomes better. I don't know, again, if she ever really will, but we're hoping. Yeah, I guess I just kind of want to leave it at that. I'm glad she reached out to Sarah and her podcast that she did with a letter. I wish Lauren nothing but the best. I hope one day she can move on from it and realize her role in it and the pain she's caused and the hurt she suffered. I know Nippy has said that he doesn't want to talk to her, but I hope one day he can get to a place of forgiveness with her. Sarah too. I wish Lauren never backstabbed her friends. Sarah was a really good friend to her, and Sarah did not deserve that. And that's kind of just where I'm at with this. I just really feel like Nancy, I just need to say this again. I really feel like I need to say this again. Nancy, your daughter and Keith have hurt people. Whether your daughter is a victim of Keith or not does not matter right now. The sex stuff happened. Face it. Deal with it and move on in some capacity. Like, stop living in a world of denial that it didn't happen or that it's a separate thing, because it's just not. That's all I have to say on Vow Season 2, Episode 2 and 3.